Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and got a big show for you today here on Thursday. Schlag, super excited. We're rolling, man, and we got a couple days left. Buckeyes will be leaving tomorrow, I believe, after a walkthrough to head down to Atlanta. So their last big practice today. Maybe they have more of a practice tomorrow, but I think yesterday was kind of their Tuesday. Today's kind of their Wednesday practice, and they're kind of building in a couple maybe lighter days, walk, jog through. You want to make sure that you're going to be ready for the game physically. But, they went hard, and give yourself some time, give yourself some space in between to be able to relax a little bit. So I think Ryan managed that pretty well. They always about like the top end speed and those different things that Mick does, to make sure that everybody's ready and in a good position. So I think that they are. Some of the big news coming out though now, and I don't know if I think this came out last night. I'm not sure if it wasn't today because we talked about it on my morning show. But the Lou Holtz saga, Schlegs, it never dies. Ryan was asked about it. I think we got some stuff in here, and we'll get into that a little later. But, we could just start with it right
now. Let's go right now.
Yeah, well, hold on. Do we have Ryan's reaction when they asked him about that? We already talk about that? I can't even remember now. My mind is mush. Anyway, Ryan talked about let's just open up with the Lou Holtz. Let's throw that up there. We'll take a little peek at it.
I got recruited by Lou Holtz when he was at South Carolina.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised you didn't go there, Schlags.
Picking out.
Well, I know, but like
hold on.
I'm happy to say it's
Lou Holtz
championship game.
I liked him.
Schlags, hold on. Lou's talking. Restart that, Pat.
Many weeks ago, when the rankings first came out, 1 through 12, I started picking out who I thought would win each and every game. I'm happy to say as we enter the championship game, I have not been wrong yet. And that's unusual for me because that's in the lower third of my high school class. But the fact is, I thought weeks ago, with the two best teams that would meet, looking at the bracketing, was Ohio State and Notre Dame. This should be a classic matchup, and it's for the national championship. One thing for sure, to finish second in the country is not a great accomplishment. Trust me, finish second quite often. However, a couple of weeks later, you look back and say, boy, what a great accomplishment we had to finish second. But the night of the championship, there will only be one winner. The best football team in the country is Ohio State. They have a great coaching staff. I think their defense coordinator is outstanding, and Chip Kelly's done a good job with the offense. And Coach Day does not get the credit he should deserve for the tremendous accomplishments he's had. However, they have the highest paid NIL. They have a great team. They're very talented on offense and defense. The list goes on and on. But I believe the University of Notre Dame will prevail in this football game. Not because we have the best football team, but I think we have the best culture. Culture will beat talent each and every time. I think that Ohio State has great quarterback, great receivers, but if we have them sitting on the bench, they can't do much damage to us. How do we have that happen? We got to be able to run the football. The old cheer, 1st and 10, do it again, has great meaning in this football game. Notre Dame just has to be very, very patient, play their own game, and don't try to impress anybody. Let's just get a 1st and 10. Next thing you know, you'll be in the fourth quarter. It'll be a very close game. Ohio State's not used to being in a real close football game. Notre Dame is, and I think if Notre Dame would just stay with their belief, they will find a way to win. We can run the football. I think Love is outstanding. Our quarterback has been brilliant as a runner. And the list goes on and on. We have a great offensive line, but we have the best defense in the country. Ohio State has a great defense also, but I don't think it's as good as the University of Notre Dame. Our secondary is absolutely outstanding. And I would say to each secondary player, the receivers from Ohio State are going to go very high in the draft. Every pro team is going to look at this film. Now, if you want to help yourself in the draft, you get in there and you watch a film. You learn everything you can about the receivers, and you have a chance to help yourself tremendously in the draft. You challenge your defensive back. But let's just get a 1st and 10. And the main thing about this, I think Coach Marcus Freeman understands this well. He doesn't need any help from me or anybody else. He's a great coach. He's done a tremendous job. He loves Notre Dame, and Notre Dame loves Marcus Freeman. But let's not win the game. Let's make sure that we don't lose it. Why does Penn State have difficulty winning a real close game? Because they try to win it and they end up beating themselves. For example, Notre Dame playing Penn State, the score's tied less than a minute to go, and Penn State throws an interception inside their 30-yard line with less than a minute to go. That's a case of trying to beat the University of Notre Dame, and they end up beating themselves. It happens on a regular basis. So let's just go play our game. Understand it's going to go down for 60 minutes. Let's not look at the scoreboard. Let's play the best we can, play it for one another. And that is the key in this football game. If Notre Dame will play this for each other, the team will come together and they will encourage one another. They'll find a way to win. So you remember me telling you this. Notre Dame wins this football game by 3. But it's going to be a great game. I'm convinced of that.
There we go. Now, I know that was
GTFO. Golly, man.
Schleichs. All right. I mean, I took some notes during it. Why do you mute yourself all the time, Schleichs?
I don't know. I threw my thing at the deal and I hit a button and it was on the Doomajang.
Quit shaking the camera.
No, I said get the GTFO on that guy.
I know. So tell me what I mean. You heard all 5 minutes. I wanted you to see Lou and hear him in his full glory. Now, by the way, Schleichs,
how old is he? How old is he?
He turned 88, I believe, on Wednesday. I think yesterday or the day before was his birthday.
I can't make fun of an 88-year-old.
Yeah, you told me in the break that you would be deadlifting if you were his age. You wouldn't have that soft, saggy body.
100%.
January 6th. He has the same birthday as AJ.
Oh, my gosh. Resurrection Day, Lou.
You mean
Insurrection Day. Insurrection Day. He probably thinks he can. Anyways, Ohio State's been in some close games. My disagreement with Lou on this was the culture wins thing. I view this as 2 very similar programs from a cultural standpoint. He talked about the buying of players. That's already been debunked.
Listen,
right?
It's the highest paid NIL in college football.
And it wasn't. Was it up there? Yeah, 100%. But was it the top? No. He's talking about those other teams that were above and how far they got. Because again, it's just part of the puzzle right now. People want to make it to where it's a bigger thing than it is. And again, let's not digress in the fact that the guys that were paid were the guys that were here and developed. These are guys that have been in the program, 3, 4, 5 years. Okay, so pump the brakes there, sweet Lou. That being said, cultures are very similar. I think Ryan and Marcus have some similarities in the way that they approach their players and how much I've seen from both sides to where they love playing for Marcus or they love playing for Ryan Day. And I love where the Ohio State Buckeyes team is from our cultural. You are in there every single day, Bob. I see it from a peripheral, hands off, but I was there for 6 months. I see the love that they have for one another, and I see the love that they have for their coach. So to say that that's going to play an impact in culture or is going to beat talent, GTFO, freaking Lou Holtz. So that was my only takeaway. Here's what's going to happen in the game. Whoever team wins is going to be the team that executes their game plan better than the other. We already know what Notre Dame wants to do. They want to run the football. They want to be able to chew up the clock and shorten the game and steal possessions where they can, whether that's on a turnover or in the special teams. That's their only way of being able to defeat Ohio State, along with Ohio State potentially making, having self-inflicted wounds like we had in some of the holding calls or personal.
You got to pronounce that D a little clearer, Schleichs.
Wounds.
That's self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
Giving a wound to anybody.
I mean, yeah. I will, anyways. So that being said, that is the game. The game is who can execute their game plan better. And so like all the other nonsense, like culturally, I think both programs are solid. I actually like the fact that this is going down in an era in which everybody's thinking about NIL and portal and money and all this. And you really have 2 very strong cultures coming together, 2 very similar type coaches. It's all about execution. So that's what I'm excited about, not the nonsense of their culture over our talent. This isn't Catholics versus convicts, Lou. Stop living in 1988.
I finished second plenty of times. And I went back and
He,
took a look
he
at
was
it.
in the bottom third of his high school class.
And I finished in the bottom third of my high school class. All right.
You have a great Lou Holtz impersonation, by the way.
Well, it's because I kind of have a lisp, I think. Maybe if I just
I
have
don't think so.
I
I think you have, I think you talk nice.
have a really thick tongue, Schlegs, just like you have a lot of saliva in your mouth. I think I have a thicker tongue. And so that allows me to just set it right there on my molars. Let's run the sound right over top of it.
That's amazing, bro. That's so amazing.
I mean,
Anyway,
my
I'm
mom,
sorry.
I think Susie maybe my mom used to beat me with a ruler to make sure that I would speak appropriately with clear diction, enunciate my words. And so, yeah, that's a part of it. So I'm glad I got me. I took some notes here. So the highest NIL, I got to push back on that because I don't think that's accurate. We already talked about that, Schlegs. That's been debunked. That is debunked. That's a fake news, if you will.
Fake news.
Best culture for Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a great culture, like without a doubt. Like I watch those guys, and they seem to really care about each other. Riley Leonard's a great dude. Marcus Freeman, we know him, we love him. I think that they're doing a great job. They do have a great culture. Is it better than Ohio State's? I couldn't tell you that. I'll tell you this, Schlegs, it's gonna be hard to parcel out a difference between the two. I don't know if you can say well, one's better than the other. Both of the schools have very good cultures. Like that's evident. You can see by how the guys play together and what they've been able to do. They've both been through adversity this year. And so they both come out the other side and come out the other side better. Oh goodness. I can't even read my writing anymore. Oh, it's not that you want to win the game. You want to make sure that you don't lose it. I've never heard that before.
I've never heard that either. That's a great point that you found, that you wrote that down.
It's like Penn State with James Franklin. They went out there and tried to beat the University of Notre Dame, and then they ended up losing. And I'm like, everybody always says you play to win. Like, don't play tentative. Like, you want to play aggressive. Now, don't play stupid. But I could argue like what James Franklin did. I mean, you had plenty of time left. That wasn't just egregious. He wasn't doing anything dumb. They threw an interception. That's what happens. This is what it was. The other one, not used to Ohio State's not used to be playing in close games. Okay. They blew out two teams. That's true. And I made this point. I was talking with Connor O'Gara on his podcast earlier today. And I said the best part I think about that Texas game is it forced Ohio State to answer the bell. Trey had to answer a bell for something he had done. You had to answer the bell with that 7-minute, whatever it was, 11, 12 play drive to take the lead 21-14. Then ultimately at the end of the game, you had to go get a goal line stand. Like that's real. And so I was glad that they went and did that because that helps sharpen your sword one more time. Like playing in close games, like it sharpens you up. Going against other elite competition is critical. And while I love sitting on the halftime or sitting around the second half, Schlegs, screwing around and be like, oh, we won the game, Buckeyes, and just like bombs over Baghdad and throwing long touchdowns and like more sacks. That's awesome. All that great stuff. I love all of that.
Yep.
Playing in close games is what makes you tough. Like David Goggins, you get hard by doing hard things. That's how you get tough. And playing in close games is how you get hard to playing in close games. And so I looked back at this. Some you won, some you lost. Played Oregon that first time out there. Like, that was a tough game. Back and forth. You lost. You learned something from that. Now, it's a teachable moment. And hopefully those lessons, and it looked like they have, they persevered. That's why Will wanted to get down Schlegs at the 20-yard line. He knew he needed to get down and get to a knee real quick. Nebraska. Now, that maybe shouldn't have been a close game, but it was a close game, and that's good. Like, every once in a while, like winning a close game, finding a way to win when your back's against the wall, that's big-time ball.
Yeah.
Won that. Penn State, Schlegs, multiple goal line stands, being down 10-0.
On the road.
No, like you got to battle back, taking the lead, getting stops. The Michigan game, love it or hate it, like it was a close game. You learned something from that. And we talked about all the little things in there that people weren't looking at, like on defense, on offense, on special teams, of learning from that. And then you just had the Texas game. So, like, I look at all that in totality, and I'm not here to sit there and browbeat Lou Holtz. He's an 88-year-old man. I pray to God when I'm 88 Schlegs, I either can or I have somebody with me who, A, is wiping my ass, and B is going to be able to use the best technology of the day. That they'll be able to turn me into a little hologram or whatever it is. And Lou Holtz is putting that out. So he had someone filming on a phone for him. Maybe he set up his own tripod and he sat there himself. I don't know.
That would be amazing. That'd be amazing.
God bless Lou Holtz, because I mean, my dad, my mom, like anybody I know over the age of 65 struggles with that stuff a lot of times. I got Lou Holtz. Maybe he set it up himself. But the fact that he's able to put together coherent sentences at 88 years, I'm serious.
It's facts. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about, if I'm 88 years old, Steph already knows this. Like our end of life plan is very simple.
2 pistols.
There's a do not resuscitate. There is if I am incoherent like that, drop me off somewhere in the piney woods of East Texas with a 30-30 and a knife and a compass. And if I make it out in 7 days,
what about the lawman? You bring the lawman with you?
No, that's the judge. That was for Ben. Sorry. Ben has that. No, I'll take a 30-30 so I can shoot my game from a distance so I can have something to eat as I'm trekking it out.
What if you run into Johnny Ringo up there by the tree, though?
Johnny Ringo! No, we're fine. 30-30 would be great. I just shoot him from a distance. But anyways, that being said, I also still want to be able to deadlift, and have an ass a little bit and potentially even wipe my own. So that'd be good. But we'll see. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, good for him for even giving his take. I'm not, like you said, but I'm not going to beat him over the head. I just disagree with his comments on it. I am happy that he didn't allude to the toughness thing, because Ohio State has shown that they're very, very tough. And we're going to see Notre Dame this week, right? You had 2 offensive linemen go out. You lost the starting defensive tackle the week prior. Like, what are they going to look like up front? Like, again, a battle of attrition. Toughness matters. You got Jeremiah Love. Like, I love him. He came back. He's not necessarily where he was. What is he going to look like in this game? These games begin to take a toll on your body, right? The good thing about Ohio State is the first 2 ones they've blown out and been able to bring some of the guys off the field to give them some rest. And they've also done a phenomenal job throughout the week of making sure they get enough quality reps that matter that allow them to go out and play fast. And why is that? It's also because they have the depth. And that's the one thing about Notre Dame that you don't necessarily know. What does that depth look like when their 2s are in? I'll tell you this, Ohio State, your 2s are in, especially there in the middle. They're looking pretty damn good right now. So it's going to be a great battle.
I think it will be. It's going to be one heck of a battle. And like I said, I really like Lou Holtz generally. And I'm glad, as to your point, there was no mention of Notre Dame being tougher than Ohio State.
Yes.
So I think that they've proven this by playing the schedule that they have, beating the teams that they have, looking the way that they have, running the football. You can't tell me a team that has a defense like that, Schlegs, that has all those goal line stands, a team that was able to run the ball off the goal line against Penn State and run the clock out, was able to run the ball like that against a good Texas defense, pound the rock on some of these teams that are really good. Like, that's a toughness thing. And going through a lot of offensive linemen like they have, very, very impressive. I didn't intend on starting the show like that, but when you
like it,
Lou Holtz, and kind of fits right in, Schlegs, because listen, Lou Holtz has got a brain that still operates, which is key. So if you want to protect that and protect your grill, talk to our friends over at Export Mouthguards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export Mouthguards are scientifically tested to absorb those high-impact hits and protecting both your teeth and your brain. And here's the best part. They feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including the patent use of carbon fiber. And this is the difference maker. They 3D print these things right to your grill for more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication, Schlegs. So you're not talking like Lou Holtz out there. You can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby so you can save 15% on it. Export, protect what matters most. More of the Bobby Carpenter Show coming up next.
Welcome to Big Play, the fastest growing sports media company in America.
I'm gonna keep it straight with you. The reason you should watch our show is because I look good, baby. Come get some!
Join our millions of fans for live sports talk shows hosted by the top former athletes and sports personalities in the industry.
Ohio, it's my home state.
Obviously, I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan.
Watch what you want, where you want, when you want. Welcome to Big Play.
Make sure you tune in.
I love you, Cleveland.
All right, Schleiks. That was exhausting. A lot of stuff to cover there, a lot of ground. We got a big show for you. It's Thursday, so that means Ben Scott Stevens going to be joining us from Sports Grid. Trying to make you a little money this weekend, make some quiche on the game over the national championship game, plus maybe some of the NFL action this weekend in the divisional round. See if there's a chance to maybe make some money. What are you laughing at, Schleiks? You got this little.
I'm just reading the chat, man. Yeah, I just put on there, attack and dominate. Don't ever go to the home, peeps. Die in the woods.
Die in the woods. That's good. Oh, we got some action in the chat going on.
Yeah, man. They're right there. I'm just like hitting them up. Let's go. Anyways, keep going.
I love that. That's tremendous being able to see the live chat. Thank you for giving the comments in there. We love it. Yeah, Schleiks. I mean, I'm with you. I'm closer to the end of my life than the beginning. I mean, I know that. I'll be 42 this year. My grandpa lived to 83. God bless him. I don't even know if that's in the cards for me. With everything. I mean, if Ryan Day wins the title, I might be able to die a happy man, Schleiks. Just knowing that he won one and this team won one with everything that they ultimately had to get done. Some other big news today that came out. Your former guy that you worked for, Schleiks, and we can toss this up here, Pat. Urban UFM, Urban frickin' Meyer. All right. Ohio State. Let me going back to Woody Hayes. Said Woody Hayes, Earl Bruce, Jim Tressel, John Cooper, Jim Tressel, and now Urban Meyer. 5 straight coaches inducted in the Hall of Fame. That's 5 out of 8. Francis Schmidt's in there. There's a couple other guys from back in the day also, but he'll be the 8th coach to coach at Ohio State who has won a national championship or who is going into the College Football Hall of Fame. He is the one of 2 coaches to win national titles at 2 different schools, Nick Saban being the other, and the only coach to win national titles at 2 different modern like power conferences, different schools at different conferences. So you can't jump conferences, same school, and still count as a national championship. With his 2 at Florida, his 1 at Ohio State. And I got a chance to talk to both Urban and Tress this week on my shows. And just talking with Urban about, and Tress about getting ready for these games. And, the one thing is the gravity of the game, Schleiks. You kind of look to it and you kind of see it. Before we get to that, just talking more about Urban. Obviously, it's a fine honor at Ohio State, 7 seasons. He is, I think, he's the second all-time winningest coach, I think, behind Knute Rockne, if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm saying that correctly, or maybe Ryan Day.
No, you're talking about there was it's in the chat. I got it right here. That's not in the chat, but I put it. Oh, where is it? Knute Rockne and Ryan Day.
Ryan Day is the second.
But Knute Rockne and Ryan Day, 881 and 875, had the 2 highest winning percentages in college football history, minimum of 70 games.
Yeah, and so Ryan's done a great job. Urban, one of the highest winning. He's up there as well. Obviously, a great job. 7-0 against Michigan, national championship in 14. Like, you really think about it with Urban, you go back and look, and this isn't a knock on him at all, but everybody remembers like the beginning a little more fondly. Like 2012, obviously, I think that you won a title and you probably beat Notre Dame that year.
Bro, that's a fact.
And you would have been in over Bama. They were the 3rd team, but you weren't eligible. 2013, you lose it. Big Ten championship game to Michigan, then you lose to Clemson in the, I think, Orange Bowl. Is that correct? You were down there.
Yeah, you lost to Michigan. You lost to Michigan State, Indy, and you lost to. Damn, that was a beatdown too. I think it was like 31-0.
No. That was the second time. It was closer the first. It was a closer game.
Okay.
That's when Braxton's shoulder was starting to go a little bit.
That's right.
And battled through, but it was a close game until the end. You win it in 14. 15, you lose to Michigan State during the regular season and don't make the playoff. 16, you lose to Penn State during the regular season, and you end up making the playoff, but you don't win the Big Ten. Penn State ultimately wins the Big Ten championship. And then you go and play, and that was that Clemson beatdown. that you had. Because when Urban got here, Schlegs, the conversation was not would Urban win a title, but how many titles would he ultimately win? And it was a big debate. And, he won one. And that's, believe me, that's huge. It was his third overall. But I think there was an expectation and hope that this guy was going to go on a Nick Saban style run. He was close, but some of those games, you lose here, you lose there. And, I talking to Urban this morning, I think that there was a sense that some of those things kind of aided him a little bit. The fact that they were right on the cusp, and you were a part of some of them as a coach and weren't able to kind of push the ball over the hill.
Yeah, 12 was a big one because you went 6 and 7. Honestly, the real question is I believe that Urban thought, because of all the things that they said and taking away the vacating of the games and that they were going to be able to play. And I think that was the oh yeah, I'll take over Ohio State. If you would have said, they would have told him no at the beginning of the year that Ohio State wouldn't be able to play in the national championship game, I don't know if he takes the job. He might have, but I don't know because he's such a competitor, right? Like he wanted to win. And that year was so transformational, not only for the players, but for the coaches. Like it was hard, man. Like people don't realize this. That first year, dude, like we can't do these things now. But like the temperature was similar to where it was this morning, 19, 20 degrees, snow on the turf field. Very first week, somebody missed the very first meeting. It kicked everybody out of the locker room.
Somebody, there was like 5 dudes that showed up late,
right,
maybe more.
Right. Yes, and guess what? The next day, 5 a.m. in the snow for 2 hours. Like that's how they trained the entire rest of the week. But again, it went back. But you took that team with the same talent.
Don't stand. You can't stop there. 5 a.m. in the morning, 2 hours, no locker room privileges. So to wear your own clothes in there, no shower afterwards. So you can come in, get a warm shower, freeze your butt off, go back to your dorm, to your apartment, and shower up and go to school.
Yeah. Hey, that's on you. Guess what? Don't be a douchebag, right? He called him something different back then. I don't know. But anyways, so then you go through that year, those guys go 12-0. And you saw, I remember the turning point of that game was the Michigan State game. And here's the one thing I'll say, the man's going into the Hall of Fame, won 3 national championships. Urban was phenomenal at inspiring his teams and getting his teams to focus on like one particular thing. And that year, it was that's where championship water came from. It was the chalice. Like this literally just came the chalice game, right? And we all did championship water. And then now that's a thing that's just been carrying on ever since. But it was that. And then you go to 2014, and I just vividly remember the Oregon game, and there were 16 plastered everywhere in your face, blow up 16, right? Like they're going to run you around the building 5 times and try to fight you. Like we're just going to be, we're in better shape.
They ran a play for 16 seconds. That was the whole premise.
Right. So it's like, no, blow it up, right? Not only are we in better shape, but we're more physical than you. And that's what we did, right? So, and again, he was also great about motivating his coaches. And I just remember like after the Clemson one year, came back, every coach office was out. They had to change their rooms because obviously the guys weren't educating the players properly to execute. It all went back on the coaches because players play and they can only play based on what they're coached to do. So he was fanatical about how his coaches coached the players. And that's why, he would say that he's a player's coach because it's all about them. How do you get them ready to play, whether it's educating them or power the unit, or are they willing to like die for you as a position coach? Have you built that trust? And that's, obviously he's had a lot of success, 7-0 versus Michigan, going into the Hall of Fame, 3 national titles. Go Bucks.
Well-deserved, and obviously a fine and proud Ohioan Schlegs. All right, as we move forward, a big congrats to Urban and Schlegs. Honestly, Ohio State, and I tell people this all the time, to not miss a coaching hire since World War II is something that is remarkable. And you look at Texas with some of the missed hires that they had there, with Charlie Strong and like Tom Herman. You can say these guys are good or bad or whatever, but they weren't there for very long and their record wasn't great. You look at Alabama, they went Mike Price and Mike Shula. I think, back-to-back. Price didn't even coach a game while he was there, Schlegs, because he had some at the strip club hanging out at Strokers, Magic City. I don't know where he was, but somewhere hanging out. They had some stuff with him. I mean, you look at Notre Dame with, O'Leary, and then they had Bob Davie before him, and Ty Willingham had a good year. Charlie Weiss had a good year too. wandered in the wilderness for a while. Like, you could roll down all of these places. Heck, Michigan, Brady Hoke and Rich Rodriguez, and like that, they had some times where they struggled, and you're firing coaches. Like, you can roll through them all and wonder, like, man, what has been going on? USC had it, but Ohio State for the last 75 years, has always had a competent coach. It doesn't mean they didn't have bad seasons here or there, but rarely did they ever have consecutive bad seasons. They get a new coach and boom, they're on the rocket ship again. And I think Urban is a testament to that. And, they pass it around to Ryan Day, who we'll talk a little bit more with the Newt Rockne comparisons and everything, either Friday or Monday, but just unbelievable job. And kudos to Urban as he moves forward. All right, coming up next, we got our headlines. Let's dive into those here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, Schleitz, welcome back into the show. We got our headlines now, and we'll fire it up about Quinn Ewers. A lot of talk about what he was going to do. The speculation, Arch Manning is going to be the starter next year. What would Quinn Ewers do? He's going to stay at Texas? Would he go to the NFL? Could he transfer and go to another school, which I think a lot of people thought would happen, especially when you look at the fact of what happened with Cam Ward going to Miami last year. He went there, made a ton of cash. All of a sudden, boom, bouncing back. You look at Carson Beck, who's now going to Miami. These guys are making $4 and $5
million.
Like, for a guy, if you're going to be a second round or third round pick, like, go get $4 or $5 million. See if you can improve your draft stock for a year, and then see if you can go out. So, I would have done that. But Quinn Ewers, Texas quarterback, according to Pete Thamel, declaring for the NFL draft. His agent Ron Slavin told ESPN decision ends his career at Texas. He went 21 and 5 as a starter last 2 years. Revived the Longhorns. They went to 2 CFP appearances. We're on the semifinal this year after winning a couple games, and then obviously last year they got in and lost to Washington in the semifinal before moving on. But any thoughts on that, Schlegs, before we get to our guy Ben Scott Stevens?
I love Ben Scott Stevens. I want to get to him, but you know what? Good for him, man. Sometimes you just know, like, I don't want to go play in college anymore. I want to be a pro. Take the step, go be a pro. That's what he's doing.
Absolutely. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more of this throughout the week and weekend before the game, but good for Quinn moving on. All right, coming up next, our guy, Sports Grid Radio. Make you some money this weekend, Mr. Ben Scott Stevens.
Welcome to Big Play, the fastest growing sports media company in America.
I'm gonna keep it straight with you. The reason you should watch our show is because I look good, baby.
Come get some!
Join our millions of fans for live sports talk shows hosted by the top former athletes and sports personalities in the industry.
Ohio, it's my home state.
Obviously, I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan.
Watch what you want, where you want, when you want. Welcome to Big Play.
Make sure you tune in.
I love you, Cleveland.
All right, now pleased to welcome our guy from Sports Grid Radio. It's been a little crazy about him on some different days of the week. He was battling some sicknesses. Man, we've had an unbelievable college football playoff. Now we're welcoming our guy from Sports Grid, Mr. Ben Scott Stevens. As we get going here, Ben, just kind of your thoughts generally coming out of those two semifinal games last week.
I thought the semifinals, Bobby, made such a statement for the 12-team era that is the college football playoff. I think as we have seen through the NFL wildcard weekend, that some of these sweeping and scathing reactions to our opening round, where we all, if you were a fan of expansion, enjoyed the idea of having actual football games, not hypotheticals, not computer rankings or that system, but actual football games on the gridiron, determine the best teams in college football in the largest ever chase for a national championship. But yet we weren't too happy with the results of the opening round because of blowouts. I think we have seen as this has progressed, and we saw in the semifinals with two great games that came down to the closing minutes of the fourth quarter in both of them, that as we march to a national championship, the best of the best will rise to the top and match the occasion. The weaker teams that were even deserving of getting to the college football playoff, but maybe not that true upper echelon of a championship contender, they'll get weeded out. I think the semifinals were great for the first ever year of the 12-team college football playoff, and I think we are in store for a beauty in the national championship game as well.
Well, one question I have is like, are they now 1-2? Or are they still 7-8? And does this go down as a top 5 win? Like, I don't know. Is that a real question? But I'm thinking about it.
Schlegs, it is a good question, right? Final college football playoff rankings, they're not going to change after a national championship. Final AP poll, how does that reflect? Current AP poll is what I think you can use because it's standardized all season long. And then it allows some of the results to be a part of your resume, like James Franklin and how porous he has been against AP top 5 teams or AP top 10 teams throughout his time at Penn State. Notre Dame, number 3 in the AP top 25 at the end of the regular season, despite being number 7 in the seed list of the college football playoff rankings, but really being number 5. What I think we have learned, Schlegs, and I think it would be hard to argue otherwise, the two best teams playing their best football right now in college football are going to compete for a national championship on Monday night in Atlanta. And I think really that's all you could ask.
Yeah, going to be pretty exciting. And so we've got the two best teams there. You know, I've seen this line, Ben, 8, 7.5, 7, moving around a little bit. I mean, do you like this line? I haven't seen the point total on it. What do you kind of like from this game? And is this something that you're going to get into?
So Notre Dame wins the Orange Bowl on Thursday, right? In the projected hypothetical matchups, even before the Cotton Bowl last Friday, Ohio State was a 9.5-point favorite against Notre Dame. Texas was more than a field goal favorite against the Irish. When the line opened up after the Buckeyes win in Dallas on Friday night, right at 9.5. Then quickly kind of came off 9.5 to where it really has been for the better part of the last 72 hours plus, and that being the 8.5-point spread we currently see. Is it going to move ahead of Monday? I would be surprised if really in the consensus marketplace, Bobby, it dips below 8. I do believe it will be north of a touchdown at bare minimum in favor of the Buckeyes. I think it's been pretty steady here at the 8.5-point number. Would it get back to 9.5? We've seen the betting market love Ohio State throughout its run in the college football playoff. I would not be surprised. 46.5 is that total. That has also remained pretty steady and one that I think is very fair for two of the 3 best scoring defenses in college football all year long. And as we think of game plan and game flow, if Notre Dame is going to keep this game close, the rushing attack needs to be successful against Ohio State, who also, of course, has an elite defense, limiting scoring production throughout this year. So it seems fair. We wouldn't need a lot of scoring, though, to get over 46.5, as we saw between Notre Dame and Penn State when it opened up in the second half of the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, everybody in the chat's hoping for 69. I mean, again, we all love that number. But let's talk about, what did you learn from Notre Dame in that matchup versus Penn State of something that they can do against the Buckeyes?
Yeah, I think that Notre Dame, really, when you think of it, Schlegs, they are going to institute the run. But I thought what we saw there was some big explosive plays in the pass game against a really stout Penn State defense. And I think the two X factors, if you're looking at Notre Dame offensively for Monday night, We know they have to be successful on the ground. That's bare minimum. That is something that they cannot be without. But if they are going to play spoiler and pull off the upset, heck, maybe even keep this game to a single score, you need a couple of explosive plays to beat that Ohio State secondary. That means Riley Leonard has to be efficient, has to take care of the football, and I think you need to see guys like Mitchell Evans, the Irish tight end, who is sensational against Penn State. His receiving yards number was 34.5. He was over that by the end of the opening drive against the Nittany Lions last Thursday in Miami. And then Jaden Greathouse, who made that great play in the open field, taking it to the house to keep Notre Dame in that football game in the fourth quarter. He had more than the century mark. I think those are the two key guys if Notre Dame is going to pull off what would be a monumental upset for a national championship game. How effective and rather explosive can that Notre Dame pass attack be against one of the best defenses, the best defense all year long in the Buckeyes in college football?
All right, Ben, we only have one college football game this weekend. That's it. We do have 4 divisional round NFL games. You want to highlight some of those and maybe where you're thinking there could be some value here as the folks are trying to dig out of a post-holiday hole?
Yes, they certainly are, Bobby, and hopefully seeing more scoring than we saw during Wild Card Weekend. Our final 5 games of the weekend all under. The only game that pushed to the over was the opener in Houston, and that featured a grand total of 44 combined points. That was the highest scoring game of the opening round of the NFL playoffs. And as we kind of discussed, the opening round of the college football playoff saw its fair share of blowouts. We certainly saw that throughout Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. I am hoping for more competitive. I think that will feature the marquee matchup on Sunday night between the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. If the game follows the odds, it's a 1.5 spread in favor of the Flock on the road in Western New York with a total north of 50 at 51.5. Again, if the game tracks based on what the numbers are forecasting, we are in for an all-time playoff game that will live in an instant classic in NFL playoff lore. But I do actually give the Bills a slight edge in this matchup. We're talking a near pick 'em, 18 cents on the money line. Buffalo understands what Baltimore wants to do. That is run the football. The Bills got exposed in defending the Ravens on the ground way back in their regular season meeting in week number 4 to end out September. The Ravens rushed for nearly 8 yards per carry in that matchup, and the King, Derrick Henry, lived up to that billing, nearly 200 yards on the ground. If Buffalo can contain, not stop, not even slow down, but just contain the Ravens' rushing attack, I trust Josh Allen in this spot. Both teams, both quarterbacks, trying to change the narrative around what has followed them throughout the postseason. So I actually give the edge to the slight home underdog in Orchard Park in what we all expect to be the game of the weekend in the divisional round in Buffalo.
Nice. Well, Ben, we appreciate your time, sir. Hopefully this will be a banger of a game on Monday. And if you still got some time, we'll chat again next week, sir.
For sure. Would love to do it. Just a quick aside for me, just so you guys know where my betting allegiances are for Monday.
Okay.
Or the Oregon game on October 6th. So even before the trip to Autzen Stadium, I bet Ohio State to win a national championship. Kept that ticket the entirety of the year. Feeling pretty good. As the college football playoff bracket was revealed, I bet Notre Dame to win a national championship. So I'm feeling pretty good about how Monday night plays out. I do believe my Ohio State ticket will cash. I do think it is a little bit more competitive than the 8.5, 9.5 point spread. But I think Ohio State, in the first ever 12-team college football playoff, wins a national championship, as Ohio State did back in 2014 in the first ever college football playoff as well.
What juice do you have on each one of those?
Plus 290 for Ohio State, plus 550 for Notre Dame. But based on unit size, pretty similar payout, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can't believe you only got plus 290 on Ohio State, then. That's remarkable.
You know what stinks? I remember having the conversation after the game in Eugene here about how to kind of quell some of the fears of Ohio State fans losing that game by just a single point in Autzen. They still remain, I think, the second or third best price to win a national championship, and the number only really dropped back to plus 450. I think even after the Michigan game, it never really got worse than 5-1, 6-1. So yeah, I could have got double that, but plus 290 was pretty good. And as we trended toward the semifinal, entering the Cotton Bowl, they were a minus money favorite. So feeling pretty good about the Buckeyes.
As you should, Ben. We appreciate it. Go check him out. Sports Grid Radio. Ben Scott Stevens on X does a great job. Thank you for us, Ben.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a great weekend.
See you, brother.
There he is. All right, coming up next, our tailgate talk brought to you by our friends at RealTruck, all coming from the chat today.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. RealTruck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select RealTruck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, welcome back in the show. Now it's time for our tailgate talk brought to you by our friends at RealTruck. Go to realtruck.com. Bring your truck to life, your Jeep, your Bronco, whatever it is. We have great stuff for the interior, the exterior, all kinds of things. I tell you about it each and every day. Got a beautiful winch. Can't wait for it to get warm to drive my Jeep around out there, show off all the new accessories. Go to realtruck.com. And when you spend $100, use promo code Bobby. Get a free RealTruck hat. The one Schlegs is rocking right now. Bring your truck to life at realtruck.com. All right. It's the first time I've ever had the chat open while we've been doing the show.
I love it. Yeah, no doubt.
You've been active in it. You brought my attention to it. Schlegs,
I'm going to start doing that more.
79 Steely Matt wants to know where your cowboy hat is.
Yeah, I mean, somebody else said AJ probably stole it because he's a ninja, which is true. It's at my farm. I'm going to wear it tomorrow. That was the plan all week, right? So I was going to wear it tomorrow. So it'll be back unless AJ somehow morphed into a field mouse and snuck in somewhere into the basement and then upstairs and then put it on and walked out the front door. It should be there.
So you think when AJ's a hawk, morphs into a hawk, and he eats the field mouse, he steals its powers and can also transfer into him. All right, that makes
100%.
sense. I like where your head's at with that. Where was the one question there about any oh goodness.
I like the one about, are you going to bring the binoculars out, Bob, so you can get that really good bird's eye view?
Binoculars. Monday is going to be serious, and I would wish I could.
Why so serious?
Well, because someone had a question in here about, Deato. Any personal matchups that got you juiced? Example like Downs versus Warren at Penn State was amazing to watch. To me, it's going to be kind of the backers against and really Sonny and Cody. And how much Arvell plays as well with the triangle of the safeties with Hancock, which we're going to talk a lot more on Monday about his importance to the team, Downs and Ransom. And those five guys, like being able to corral Riley Leonard in that running game. Because I think the corners will take care of the perimeter. That running game, like tackling and getting on the ground, because he's like a fullback back there on the rock.
Yeah, my biggest thing will be, how are they going to protect Riley Leonard? And again, this goes back like you win first and second down. Riley Leonard has to throw. All his 2 interceptions versus Penn State, yes, one came on 1st and 10. The other one came on 3rd and 12. But Penn State had 5 sacks, guys. And we've seen what Ohio State has done and the impact of, Jack Sawyer and 83 yards for a touchdown is, what are they going to do, right? Because now I'm focused on, are they going to have to chip somebody? They put in 2 guys last game. We don't necessarily know the health of all their guys, but they put in 2 guys last game, one of them being their left tackle that played 0 snaps. I think it was a guard that went in that played 60. I might have that inverted, but again, 2 guys that have only played less than 100 snaps, add some snaps from that last game versus this pass rush and a Penn State team that had 5 sacks last game. What are they going to – that's the matchup for me. One, we had to stop the run, but when we get to pin our ears back, what do they do, and how does that impact their passing game? Because if they're only getting 2 receivers out, guys, it's going to be a long-ass day for Notre Dame.
Well, and plus, I went back and I watched that Georgia game because really the Georgia game hinged on 2 plays. The turnover to the touchdown right before, I guess it's 3, and then the field goal kick or the kickoff coming out at halftime, kickoff return. And so you get a strip sack, boom, next play touchdown. Coming out of half, boom, kickoff return for a touchdown. But the Georgia defense played good. They got after him. They were fast. They swarmed the ball. Can Ohio State continue to do that? And I think they can. I think they've got the personnel to be able to do it. And then lastly, Schlegs, the question I think came from not Mike I think 79 Steely Matt, question about the offensive line. Can they continue to play like they have? And we'll get into on Monday's show a little bit too. Luke Montgomery did a heck of a job. Austin Serval went down, and Ryan Day was very complimentary of him. Like, they're healthy, man. As healthy as you're going to be. Like, you got five dudes out there that are solid, that have been playing well on a position that's been ravaged, position group that's been ravaged all year. I think they got it, and they play with an intensity and a passion, and they're going to need it. And plus, Notre Dame's a little beat up front, especially on the interior without Riley Mills. So I feel good about that one.
Yeah, that was the one thing I wanted to get more in depth on from AJ, because he's seen him in person. And I've heard that their defensive line is not like bigger, right? And so what does that look like from the running perspective? Again, Penn State ran for 204 yards against them. They outrushed them in that game. Granted, Penn State couldn't pass the football to anybody other than Warren. So what does that look like? And again, it's just different, you know? So honestly, again, let's go back. This game hinges in the front seven of both sides of the football. Who controls the line of scrimmage?
Save that for your keys of the game. Save that for your keys of the game, Schlag.
Okay, sorry. What day are we on?
It's Thursday. Save that for Monday.
Okay.
Of the keys of the game. All right. We're going to wrap up the show with some parting thoughts from Schlags coming up next.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. RealTruck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select RealTruck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, final segment of the show here, Schlags. Give us your parting thoughts as we wrap up this Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah, there's something that I think you found, Bob, and you put it in the group chat, and I want to expound upon this because this is a really good life lesson. There's a Reddit user, and I don't even know what Reddit is, okay? And there's 2 Ds in it, so I don't know. Double D, maybe it's.
I was going to save that, Schlags, for.
No, I'm breaking it out right now because here's the deal. You and I are both in the group chat now, and we got some great stuff in there and great banter back and forth. But guys, listen, you know, like. Yeah, when you want to say, listen, man, like Notre Dame is not going to win a national championship, or I'm going to cut my dog off, or something like that, right? Wherever it is, don't put your body parts on the line. Don't put throw money out there that you can't cash. And like this one right here is absolutely bumpy. And so again, it just goes like, be a man of your word, yes, but just don't go out there and say I'm going to cut my dick off. And then he even expounded upon how him and his wife had talked about having kids. So he didn't mention the timing of it. Like right after the game, I'm going to have to go get penile removal surgery. But he did say we're going to have a couple of kids. And then, yes, eventually I will remove my penis. How terrible is that for all parties involved? Simply because you said it. So make sure that you control your tongue.
We'll go Bucks for him, Schlags. I mean, literally. I mean,
yeah, he said, hey, go Bucks.
It's on the line. I mean, for the love of your brother, I mean, whatever it takes. All right, that's it for today's show. We got Rocky Boyman, Notre Dame alum, ESPN analyst, going to join the show tomorrow. Stay locked in. We'll see you at 12:30 on Friday.